Alright, in this video we'll be converting fractions into decimals. And so let's start with something like 7 over 20. Now, decimals like to work with numbers that are over, say, 10, or over 100, or over 1,000. So the first thing to try is to multiply that bottom number into one of those numbers. So something like 10, or 100, or 1,000. Okay, now that's not always possible. It's probably worth thinking about exactly when it's possible and when it's not. But anyway, for this one, hopefully you can recognize that 20 times 5 is 100. So let's try and multiply both top and bottom by 5. On top, 7 times 5 becomes 35. And on the bottom, we get 100, as we saw before. As a decimal then, we need to put 35 in the hundredths position. So let's write our 0 point. Then here's our tenths place. Here's our hundredths place. And then the 35 can sit right there. Likewise, for 3 over 250, we can convert the 250 to 1,000 if we multiply by 4. So let's multiply top and bottom by 4. On top, 3 times 4 becomes 12, and the bottom becomes, well, 1,000, right? As a decimal then, we need to put 12 in the thousandths position. So we write our 0 point, then once again, here's the tenths place, here's the hundredths place, and here's the thousandths place. So the 12 sits right there. And the hole in the tenths place must be filled in with a 0 since there's no value there. Okay, and so we put that 0 into the gap, and that's our decimal. Alright, the last one we'll see is a bit different. Something as simple as 2 over 3, but it's actually a bit trickier because there is no way of turning a 3 or multiplying a 3 into 10 or 100 or 1,000. It's always the first thing to try, right? But there is no way 3 is turning into one of those numbers. Okay, in this case, remember that 2 over 3 just means the same thing as 2 divided by 3. So we can think about using our long division, or for most of you like short division, to make sense of this number. And so let's try that. All right. Now, of course, 3 doesn't go into 2, but what we're going to do is enter the land of decimals, and we're going to add a 0.0 there. This doesn't change what the number is, but we can actually start thinking about how many 3s go into 20, so long as we respect that decimal place and we put our answer to that in the tenths position. And so we're going to start with this 0 point up the top there. Now we have 6 3s going into 20, so we put 0.6. And 3 6s are only 18 though, giving us a remainder of 2, which I'm going to put down there. Now I know most of you are more familiar with what you call short division. I don't know any of that stuff. But it's a bit cramped up the top, which is where I think you normally put it. So I'm going to put my remainder down the bottom there. I hope you're okay with that. Okay. Alright, so again, 3 doesn't go into 2, but we can enter the next decimal place by putting another 0 there. So again, we need to ask, well, how many 3s go into 20? Oh, well, again, it's 6, right? And again, 3 6s are 18. And again, the remainder is 2. And I think it's going to happen all over again. And we realize we could be here for a very long time doing the same thing over and over again, but that would be kind of silly, wouldn't it? Right? It's clear that this pattern never ends. So in fact, the answer is 0.66666666 going on forever and ever, and it will never stop. Alright, now with the 2 examples we did at the start, the decimal will stop somewhere, like at the end of 0.35 or 0.012. Right, because of that, we call these terminating decimals, which just means that they're stopping. Right, there's a stop, there's an end to them. Right, but for the ones like the 0.66666 going on forever, we call them recurring decimals, which just means it's repeating a pattern over and over again. And another way to write them, if you look up the top there, is we can put a little dot on top of the bit being repeated like that. Okay, and there's other little weird ways of writing these things when the repeating pattern's longer, but maybe I'll just show you in person later, right? That's just writing. Hopefully, though, this helps you convert fractions to decimals, okay? So the first thing to try is to try and convert that bottom number to 10 or to 100 or whatever. If that's not possible or you can't see it, then throw it into a long or short division and enter the decimal world and see where that takes you. Okay, so that's all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.